Welcome back, guys. For this video, it's going to be pretty interesting. What I did was I downloaded and installed Arch Linux, three different distributions, basically. The first one you're looking at, that's the Architect distribution. Now, that one there is the most difficult of the installers, but still not bad. You really have to know your system, and there are a lot more steps involved installing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through basically the same scenario on all three. I'm going to just start off with Architect, then I'm going to go to Antergos, and then I'm going to go to Manjaro. Now, the first install, as I mentioned, is Architect. Now, just a little background on this. I installed the system. It doesn't come with a whole lot. I had to install GUVCView, and I tried to install Kazam, but it's not available because the Arch user repository is not enabled as of yet. We're going to attempt to do that because that's something you'll have to do if you elect to go with Architect. So when I started GUVCView, it froze the system. Now this is a high-end system. It's got a Core i7 4790 processor with an NVIDIA GTX 760 graphics card, and ordinarily doesn't have a problem running anything. But when I selected NVIDIA for my graphics driver, it installed an old driver, 304, which is old. So I'm not surprised that there are a few graphics issues. Now, as I mentioned, I couldn't use GUVCView because it froze the system. I had to Control Alt Delete out of it. And so I went ahead and installed Cheese, and that's what you see running down here in the bottom right hand corner. So, and I apologize for the lighting. I'm actually downstairs, and this is the main computer that I don't use a lot for the videos. Um, so it's not too bad, but we'll play it by ear. So I'm going to go through the same scenario on all three. Now, I'm not going to show you the installation, obviously, because I installed it. This is a hardware install. This is not a virtual box. So I could not video the installation process. But I will tell you that Architect is more difficult than Antergos or Manjaro. So let's we're going to go through the same scenario on all three just so we can see what it can and cannot do. Now on Architect, there is no button to press to update your system. It has to go through the command line. So I am going to bring up a terminal and show you how that's done. And so now I had to install VLC because there was no way to test the video. There was no program installed. So I installed VLC. Now the install command for Arch is sudo pacman minus capital S and then the name of the program. So you can see so far what I did. Now this is the command to update your system. Sudo pacman minus capital S lowercase y lowercase u. If I press that, it asks for your password, and it'll go through the update process, but there was nothing to do because I had already updated. Now it's giving me a keyboard battery low, Not sure if that's accurate or not because I charged it yesterday, but we'll get rid of that. So I'm in the uh, terminal right now. Now I want to install gparted because I want to just go through my partitioning with you. That'll give you an idea of what I did. It might help you in deciding how you want to partition, because what I did was I pre-partitioned the hard drive. I'm on one drive. I've got 3 distributions installed on one drive. So let me show you if I can get over to gparted. I'll show you what the partitioning looks like, and I'll explain to you what I did. Okay, so I wanted to do all EFI installs, so I created a small partition from my boot EFI, and that's this green one you see here. Then I set up 3 ext4 partitions, one for each of the distributions, and then a small swap partition. Now I only put a little less than 4 gig because I've got 32 gigs of RAM, so I don't envision ever using that swap drive, but swap partition, but that may vary. And based on your system, if you have an 8 gigs of memory, I would recommend, as long as you have a decent sized hard drive, I would put an 8 gig swap partition. The lower your RAM, your physical RAM on the machine, the larger the swap partition needs to be. So if you've got 8, I would go 8, but if you've only got 4, I would go 8, because you want to make sure you don't run out of swap space. Then your system will really slow down. Okay, so that's what the partitioning looks like. If you have any questions about the partitioning, let me know. When you start off with your drive, you can move, like for example, if I want to resize this Manjaro partition, I select it. Now the only way you can resize it is if you're not mounted to it. So I'm using this middle partition right now. So this one here is accessible, and you can tell by looking at your screen here. You see where the key is? Those cannot be modified because I'm running on those right now. Now I could modify my swap if I turn my swap off. And if you highlight that, you can see there's a swap off. I could turn that swap off and bring that down to 2 gig if I wanted, but I'm going to leave it just the way it is. But I'm just going through that just to show you how the partitioning logic works. So this larger Manjaro, 128 gig, I'm not using it, so there's no key, which means it's accessible. So let's say I wanted to resize it and make room for another install. Click resize, and then you can move the partition. You see the size is new size, free space following. So I could do that if I wanted to and make room for another install. But I don't really see any need to do that right now, so I'm going to leave it alone. Now, the other thing you'll notice on the partitioning is that the all 3 are using the same EFI and the same swap. Now, one other thing to keep in mind, I have all of my data on another drive. So if I take a look at you see this Linux data? I have a window. Now I have one hard drive internal that is split between Windows data and Linux data. So in my Linux data, that's where I've got movies, videos, photos. So I've got my Steam games. So if I want to play a Steam game, it's in one place. I don't have the Steam games on all three partitions. So basically, this is a common data drive that all three distributions would use. And that's the way I recommend. If you have the hard drive space, that's what I recommend. That way you can change distributions without having to reload all of your data. The data becomes the constant. So, and that's just information for you guys. So that's how the partitioning was done. So let's take a look. I'm going to go through and I am going to go through some steps on each one so that we can see how each one performs. Now, I installed gparted, I installed Kazam. I'm sorry, I could not install Kazam because the Arch user repository YAOURT is not available. So I can't find any GUI to add that. So I did a little checking online, and ironically, in the Manjaro forum, it shows how to add the AUR repos. So I am going to go through that with you. Now we need a way to edit the file. And so I am going to have to install, well actually I won't have to. I'm going to open the terminal and I am going to, hopefully I can use Thunar to edit that file. Okay, so I want to go into File System, and you can see over here the file is etc pacman.conf. Okay, so I'm going to locate that file. Pacman, the configuration file for Pacman. Now do you see it's all laid out and I know what I need to do based on these instructions. Now I just want to show you something. See if I can open up another terminal. Okay, when I type YAOURT -S and Kazam, it says command not found. Now, what I'm doing should add that command. So, what I want to do is I want to add this code for 64-bit. Now, if I take a look, at this sample file, you can see that this code, the 64-bit code, is added right here. Okay? See that? That's what I need to add in. So I'm going to copy that. Because I do have a 64-bit machine. And I'm going to scroll down to the you see the community? It's right below there. So I am going to add it right below the community. Okay, and I'm going to save it. Okay. Close that out. Then I'm going to update the system again. And now it's pulling the package listing from the Arch Linux user repository. Okay, so now I'm going to try Kazam. And it's still not there. So let's see. Let me see if I can quickly. Ah, there it is. Okay, so SYY to synchronize the databases. And see, it's just a matter of following the directions. You can find the directions online in order to be able to deal with these issues. So I just synchronized the databases, and now I'm going to update the system again. And now I'm going to add the command. So I have to install YAOURT. You see that right here? So once I do that, okay, and now if I try to install Kazam, it's still not. Oh, let me update the system again. Let me update the system again. And then we will try to install again. No. So that's a failure right there because I followed all the directions and I'm not able to install Kazam. Now, I wanted to install what I usually do when I put in a new distribution. I go through and I try to locate. Now let's see if it's pulling in any other packages. See the command. Oh, let me try. Maybe I have to do sudo. No. No, for some reason it is not. It's not taking. So that we're not going to be able to do, and that means I'm not going to be able to install some of my packages. But let's go through. Let's finish up with this, and let's install a couple of. Let's see if Kazam is not there. P-sensor is not there. Redshift is there. So I've got Redshift. Let's see if I can install my Broadcom wireless drivers. Broadcom wireless drivers are not available either. So let's wrap this install up, guys, with just a few comments. This is the architect install. If you wanted to change the appearance, you can change your theme. You can go in and change your icons. And as far as that goes, it's pretty much run of the mill. The install took longer. We were able to install gparted. I showed you the partitioning. Could not install Kazam. GUVC view installed, but it froze up the system. P-Sensor was not able to be installed. Redshift was. Hard Info was. I was able to change the theme, the wallpaper, and the icons. My Broadcom wireless drivers would not install. The NVIDIA driver is the older 304 version. Updating the system is directly from the command line. So I'm not sure what's to be gained by going through all of the extra work involved in doing an architect install. And keep in mind, a full Arch install is even more complicated. So, needless to say, Architect is not going to stay on my system. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through this same scenario with Antergos. And I'm going to reboot into Antergos, and I will be right back with you. Guys, don't go away. I'll be right back. Okay, welcome back, guys. This is the second part of the video. This is the Antergos install. Now, as you can see, I didn't have any trouble getting GUVC View working properly, and also Kazam is also installed and working properly. Now, the difference between Antergos and the Architect install is there are multiple differences, but one of them is that the Arch user repository is enabled right out of the box, so I'm pretty much able to install anything. So let's take it through step by step. The updating, as you can see up in the top right, there's a little exclamation point telling me I have 4 available updates. Now, there is a GUI or graphical user interface for the updating process, which is not available in the Architect version. And so right now it is refreshing, and it will tell me exactly what's available. So there are 4 updates available. I'm going to go ahead and apply those. And then we'll move on to the next phase of this analysis, which is installing some programs that I always install when I do a distro install. So as you can see, the system is now up to date. We're going to close that out, and you can see up in the top right there is no more exclamation point. The system has been updated. So we're going to pull up a terminal. Now this is the Mate version. You can pull up all of your programs by category, or you can just stay with your favorites. I need the terminal, so we'll take a look at that. So what we're going to do is we're going to install P-Sensor, which is available through the Arch user repository. You can see the command that I'm using, YAOURT space dash capital S space, and we will install P-Sensor. Now it's telling me that my keyboard battery is low. So evidently I charged this yesterday. It could have been something went wrong with the charging, but that's both systems now, both Architect and Antergos have told me that that battery is low. So we're going to dismiss that. And as you can see, whenever you pull in a package through the Arch user repository, it gives you a warning, potentially dangerous, and that just means any package that's pulled in that's not from the official Arch repository using the pacman command will give you this warning. So I'm going to install P-Sensor, and it'll go through the process, and it will make P-Sensor available to me. Now, one of the things I'm going to do right now, I am running on a USB Wi-Fi stick, because my Broadcom wireless is not yet configured. So we're going to go through that. Okay, so now the P sensor is installed. We're going to close out the terminal and go up to our accessories. It's system tools. Let's see, P sensor. Okay, so there is P sensor installed and working. And if you remember, that was not the case with the Architect install. So I'm going to configure the preferences the way I usually do to launch and start up and hide the window. We'll put OK, and I will move it. And it basically keeps track of the temperatures within your system. So we will close that out. But it's up here in the taskbar. You can see running in the system tray. Anytime I need it, I can just pull it up and activate it. So that takes care of Kazam, GUVC view, and P sensor. Now, one of the things I want to check is Gparted. So let's take a look at Gparted. As you can see now, the key is up to the top partition, which is this one, and that is my Antergos install. The middle one is Architect. The first one in line is the Antergos, and my Manjaro is number 3. So that's Gparted. Now we're going to take a look at my NVIDIA drivers. Let's take a look at, we are going to take a look at hard info, which is not yet installed. So let's take a look. Okay. Okay, we go Linux 4.1.6, 32 megs of RAM, actually 32 gigs of RAM, and let's see, right now it's running the Nouveau driver, so it does not have the NVIDIA graphics installed yet. That's why I don't have the NVIDIA. So there must be a way of installing those. So next on the list, let's take a look at installing my Broadcom wireless. Now if you take a look at the networks available are limited because they're pulling in only from my USB Wi-Fi stick that I use for the installs. So let's take a look to see if we can get Broadcom wireless. And as you can see within Antergos, the Broadcom wireless install is available. And it pulls it in and installs it. That was not the case with Architect. So now once I reboot, my Broadcom internal wireless card will be activated and pull in the networks that are configured on that card. Okay, so I'm gonna pause the system for a second and I'm gonna look into the NVIDIA. Be right back with you. Okay guys, back to Antergos. Now I did a little research and I found that the NVIDIA drivers have to be installed. So I researched the process and basically I'll show you what I have now. Okay, so you can see now I have the NVIDIA utility package. It's showing the NVIDIA driver 352.41, and so it appears now that everything is configured, and let me show you how I did that. First I'll need a terminal, and the first command that I used was sudo pacman -s NVIDIA utils. That installed all the utilities along with the latest driver. And then since then I have found that basically need to run the command for sudo nvidia xconfig, which I did, and that'll take effect when next time I reboot. But right now it looks like things are fine on the NVIDIA front. So we're going to move on to the next step of this analysis. Okay, so I did install gparted, I did install Kazam, GUVC and psensor. Psensor is still working, as you can see. Now, normally I install Redshift, which should be available through the normal command. So if I use the pacman command, Redshift should be available, and it is. So we'll go ahead and install that, and that is installed. If I go to my menu and I look at Redshift, it should be there. As you can see, it's now in the taskbar. You can see the light is changing. I'm going to set it up to auto start, and I'm going to check to make sure it's got my location configured properly, and it does. So we'll just leave that alone. Now let's go into the control center and we'll take a look at appearance. We can change to the dark theme. We can customize the icons. We'll go with the Numix icons, and we will close that out. So that's not an issue. So let's see, so far on Antergos, I have done the install, went along fine. I installed GUVC without a problem, installed Kazam without a problem, I updated the system without a problem, installed psensor, Redshift, and hard info to get my system information. We changed the theme. We can change the wallpaper. Let's take a look at that. And let's see if that's under, yes. So there's our wallpaper selections. We can change the wallpaper. We'll leave that one. And what else do we need to do? I have the NVIDIA driver set up. I was able to install my Broadcom wireless. So I think that's about it. That's Antergos. Again, I used the same partitioning that I showed you on the gparted, and everything went along fine. So I would say Antergos gets a much higher score than Architect. So let's move on to Manjaro. I'm going to pause the video and then I'll be back, booted into Manjaro, and we'll take a look. Okay, be right back, guys. Okay, guys, this is part 3 of the analysis between Architect, Antergos, and now Manjaro, the new Mate version. Now, this is the new Mate version that just come out recently. The install went flawlessly. They have a new installer that you can activate when you do the install, and it's called Calamares. It is actually wonderful. It's the best installer that I've seen. It actually lets you designate which partition you'd like to install the new operating system on. You just designate the partition and it handles the swap and the EFI boot partition, so it's transparent to you when you're doing the install, but everything comes out beautifully. So the first thing we're going to do to try to stay apples to apples with the other two, I'm going to go through the update. So it's telling me that I have 86 updates available, and so well, actually I'm going to hold off on that for a minute because I want to do some installs here. So we'll close that out, and we're going to bring up a terminal, and let's go ahead and do psensor, and I'm going to use the user repository, which is YAOURT. I installed Kazam and GUVCView, which went without a problem. So let's try psensor and Redshift. Let's see what else. Gparted is already installed. Oh, and hard info. Okay, so let's go ahead and process those. Okay, so let's go ahead and do the install. And once these 3 programs are finished, then I will go ahead and do the update while we talk about some of the other issues, some of the other features within the Manjaro Mate install. Okay, so now all 3 packages have been installed, and we will go ahead and activate them. Redshift, and that is now running, as you can see, up in the system tray. And under System Tools, psensor, and that is now running up in the system tray, and you can see the program here. And I'm going to configure it exactly the same way that I did on the others to make everything apples to apples. Okay. Launch on startup, hide the window. We will bring it down here and close it out. And the last program was the system profiler, which is hard info, and so that'll give me all of the information on the system. Now right now I've got the all the standard information and the 4.16 kernel. Now let's check my NVIDIA graphics card and see if that is installed. $352.41, so that is running fine. And as far as my networks are concerned, I have the USB wireless adapter running, and I'm going to install my Broadcom right now. Okay, and as I said before, when you install your Broadcom, you're going to need to know which kernel you're running. I'm running the 4.1, so we're going to go with option 8, Linux 41. And it's going to go ahead and install the Broadcom wireless drivers. So that should go fine without any problems at all. And what we're going to do is that once that's finished installing, we're going to do the updates. So the Broadcom will take effect after I reboot. Okay, so now as far as the updates go, let's take a look. We'll go ahead and apply those updates. And we'll move those off to the side for a few minutes. And let's take a look at the appearance. We're going to take a look at theming. Okay, let's see. Right now, it appears we've got the custom theme installed. Let's try the black mate. And as you can see, that took effect fairly quickly. We're going to customize by taking a look at our icons. Right now it's using the mate icons, and I think we'll switch over to the mate Faenza, and we'll use the dark. And now we'll take a look at our backgrounds. Now it's got this is the stock background that you see, Manjaro with the mate, very nice. That's this one right here, and we can switch over to any one we choose. There's the blue, and I think I'll go back to the stock, which seems to be very nice. And you can add your own so that you have your choice of wallpaper on the desktop. So the system is still doing the installs. I think I have gone through all of the issues. Now, as you can see with the Manjaro install, everything is pretty much done for you. It is very intuitive. Most things are installed for you right out of the box. I've been using the terminal to do my installs, but you have the ability to use the graphical user interface to add remove software. And I can't open it right now because PAMAC is running the package manager. So we're going to let that finish installing. It's about halfway done right now, and so I'm going to let that finish. So let's recap. Now on the Architect, I had some problems with the install, had some problems with NVIDIA, and being that install is much more difficult, I don't know why you would want to do that. And I'm having trouble with the logic as to why you would want to do an Arch install, which requires an awful lot of work, and it doesn't hold your hand, and it doesn't update your system as easily as Antergos and Manjaro. So I'm not sure. For me, that's not something that I want to spend a lot of time on. Installing Arch, even using Architect, is more difficult and more time consuming than I want to deal with. So for me, it would come down to either Antergos or Manjaro, and I would have to give Manjaro the edge because the install is much more intuitive and easier. And I had a little bit less difficulty setting everything up. And also the Manjaro community. I took a look at the Antergos forum and compared it to the Manjaro, and the Antergos does have a nice forum. However, it doesn't have the activity of the Manjaro forum. And Manjaro, I have to say, as I've said before, if you post a question on the Manjaro forum, you're going to get a response fairly quickly. And so problems are resolved a lot easier. So that's the three Arch installs that I was willing to take on. I hope you enjoyed the comparisons, and I'm going to stick with Manjaro. There's really no reason why I wouldn't do that. Everything is laid out in such a way that I find it very easy to use. It's fast. I like the choice of packages. I like the package management system, and I like the responsiveness of the community. So I'm going to go with Manjaro after this comparison. You guys, if you want to give it a try yourselves, I would recommend going with either Antergos or Manjaro. Try them both and then make your own decision. I can't recommend Architect at this point in time only because I did have some difficulty with it, and I just don't have the kind of time that it would require to install and maintain and get everything running as well as it is in Manjaro. So that's it for today, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. My system is now up to date, and I will see you next time. Please rate, comment, and subscribe, and share on social media, and let your friends know about it if you think they might be able to get something out of these videos. Okay, guys, take care, and I'll see you next time.